We had some of this in the cupboard. It gets used for making cookies and fudge, generally. I'm going to put it in here. I was looking at some information about freeze-dried peanut butter, and I thought, I've been meaning to do this for quite a while, so it's time to try it. I've got about 187, 188 grams of peanut butter in there. I have some xanthan gum that I'm going to try as an emulsifier, and then we'll add about 40-50%, so almost an equal, a 1-to-1 up to a 1-to-1. So the mix will be 40 to 60% water when it's done. So if I'm going to add it to 50-50, then I need 187 grams of water. I don't know if I'm going to use that much, and I'm not really worried about it. I could probably use this for my water, and then I could get some more of the peanut butter out that way. And the main reason I'm recording all this is so that I have something to fall back on, see how it worked. Okay, and then I have 1/2 teaspoon of the xanthan gum to use as an emulsifier. And I have no idea if that's an appropriate amount for this amount of material. No clue in the world, but I'm going to give it a whirl, see what it looks like, see if it looks emulsified. And then I need to have an overrun. In other words, mix it up, have enough air entrained into it so that it becomes bigger by about 40-50% more than what the volume is after I put this water in there. And I don't know if I should put the xanthan gum in there or in here. I guess I'll put it in the water and mix it. I've never used xanthan gum for anything, so I don't know about using it as an emulsifier or anything else. I know it can be used as a thickener, which is what I got it for, and I'd never tried it. I just finally opened it. Yeah, mix that with it was 1/2 teaspoon or about 2 grams. Wow, that sure thickens the water. Yeah. Well, we'll see how that goes. Let's see if that will mix in there. Oh, I think I want it thinner than that. I think I'm going to add a little bit more water to that. I'm going to go ahead and add the second one in there. If I need to, I can get the bigger measure cup. Okay, I'm going to add more water to that. So that's another 100 grams of water. Huh. I don't think that's going to fit in there though. I'm going to get a bigger measure cup. And I don't know if I should have used warm water or cold water. Okay, another 100 grams of water. And again, with the amounts of oils in there, I'm not sure how much I need in the way of an emulsifier. Whoops. Come on, go slowly to start with. Okay, so now going to put that mix into a pan for pre-freezing. So it's relatively light and fluffy now. So that's going to the freezer for pre-freezing. And we've got a couple of more things that we're going to try in this batch. So next, I'm going to try some honey. So this is a jar of raw unfiltered honey that I got from a friend. It's kind of, I probably need to warm it up a little bit so I can get it out of there. And I'm going to mix it with water to lower the amount of sugar and put that in there. And I'm not sure if I need to try any xanthan gum with this also. I'll get it mixed with water first. So I warmed that up a little bit so that I could get it out of here. I figure it's not going to hurt it if I try freeze drying it. I can still use it. So about 200 milliliters of honey. I'm going to add that much water. I'm going to try a half teaspoon of xanthan gum in this, and I'm going to add more water because I think it's still, I don't have a Brix meter, and I should buy one so that I could do this kind of thing. So I'm going to add another container of water. Now it'll be 2 to 1, 2 water with 1 honey. All right, so half teaspoon, and I'll do this on, well, what I thought was low, and sprinkle it in. With honey, I'm sure there's no reason for an emulsifier, but it's what I have as a thickener on hand right here. So I'm going to give it a try, see what happens. So I'm going to go ahead and put about half of it in each of 2 pans. Since these are sugary, unlike the peanut butter which had some oil in them, I'm going to go ahead and use a little non-stick cooking spray to coat these. Help make it easier to get them back out. I don't know if I'm putting enough though. That's not very much. Well, it's more than nothing. We'll give it a try. It's about 800 milliliters. I'll put about 400 in each side. And that should equal about 400 grams. If it were just water, it would be 400 grams for 400 milliliters. So I'm going to try that amount. Okay, I went to 405, so a little bit extra. I honestly don't know if I've diluted it enough. The point of diluting it is to have a lower sugar content of it so that it's less likely to balloon up. Okay, it's definitely heavier than water. About 500 in this one and 400 on the other one. So I'll get these in the freezer for pre-freezing. So next, I'm going to do some more heavy cream. These are ultra pasteurized, but is it ultra homogenized? I don't know if it would help to add an emulsifier in this, but I am going to add water to it. So I'm going with 1 cup of heavy cream, and then we'll add 1 cup of cold water in with it. So now we're 1 to 1 water and cream. And I'm wondering, again, if I should go with more than that. And we'll get this also in the freezer for pre-freezing. So 1 cup of cream and then diluted with 1 cup of water, so a 1 to 1. And we'll compare that to just the straight cream. This should powder easier. The freeze dryer can hold 20 half blocks. I should probably have 20 different concentrations of it in a batch to try it out and find out which ones work best. So we'll see these again after they're pre-frozen and ready for the freeze dryer. I'm going to add more water because with that amount of water it still didn't freeze solid. And as I said, I don't have a Brix meter, and I guess I need to buy one if I'm going to do this kind of thing. I'm going to add another 500 grams of water to this.
Yeehaw!
This time I'm going to go pour this directly onto one of the freeze dryer trays and put that in the freezer for pre-freezing. Let's go do that. We're going to get those test trays or blocks into the freeze dryer and see how they do. I'm concerned that the honey still is too sugary, the Brix is too high in it. I should buy a meter so that I could actually get it to the right level. Read a little bit about what level it should be for sugary things, and I know on orange juice that it will work at the level that it is, the unconcentrated. So it would be interesting to see what level the honey is. I suspect it's too high. Anyway, we're going to get these pieces in there and get them in the freeze dryer. And on the empty trays, I'll go ahead and do some blocks of milk that I've had sitting in the freezer for some amount of time. So this is the tray of honey that honey and water mix that I poured directly onto the tray, and it's tray 4, 1680. And I still don't know if it's going to be too sugary. I'm going to add a piece of parchment over the top so if it blows up a lot, it won't stick to the shelf above. I don't know how that's going to work either. So I've got the cream. It's just a regular block of milk on that one. And this one, I'm going to put the peanut butter on there. Okay, I'll put that, and I'll use this other part for just regular milk. Get this other block of milk in here, because we know what milk's going to do and what it's going to look like, so I don't need to be able to see it through the window. Now this one is the one that I think is going to be kind of disastrous. I have the honey, and it never fully set up, so it stayed pretty squishy. So I'm trying to get it out of there so I can get it transferred, but I'm not very confident in that. You can see it's still very flexible. I think it's not near enough water in there to work properly. I'll go ahead and do that and add another block of milk back there. And I have plenty of milk in Ziplocs. We had already frozen them in the blocks so that they could be ready if we needed something real quick. And that's a 2-cup block of milk. Well, we'll see what happens. I've got the honey covered with parchment, so in case it kind of blows up a lot, it won't make quite as big a mess, I hope, and stick to the top. The other ones I don't think are going to be a problem. I don't know how they'll work out, but so we have the peanut butter, the heavy cream, honey, and more honey. Honey with a lot more water in it. I think this has a better chance than this. I'm not confident with either of them. We'll see how they go. Without having this plastic disc in the door, I get all this condensation. If that disc was in the door, there would be none of this, or almost none of this. I need to put my seal back on and take this one off and see if I can get back to what I had or make a new disc for this seal. This is the seal that came off my sister's, and it's slightly thicker on the inside, so the diameter of the circle in the middle is a little bit smaller, and my disc doesn't fit in there. We'll be back and check with this later. I'm going to give it a lot of freeze time because of the sugary parts of that, basically to give it the best chance to succeed. I don't know if it's going to get cold enough to freeze solid properly because of the amount of sugars. I probably should have doubled the water again, even on the one that I had added additional water. So I'll have to watch this. I may have to stop it early and take it out if it just gets too out of hand and blows up like a balloon too much. The surface tension of that with the sugars might be too much for it, and it just will balloon up. We'll come back and see it. So don't go away, it'll be just a second. There's the peanut butter. Heavy cream is doing fine. This is about 5 hours later. Okay, there's the peanut butter again. The cream is doing well still. However, the honey's a bit of a mess. So that's the one that's not as dilute. That one's doing better. We'll see how that ends up. And it says that it's almost 90 degrees in there. This test batch says that it was done and ready to check a few hours ago, but I wasn't ready because we were doing some stuff with peaches and I was doing some other editing. So I just added more time. Well, now I'm ready to start the dry check, and we'll see what's happening with these test things. The peanut butter looks great. The heavy cream looks perfect. The honey looks interesting. The one that I took back out and added additional water looks promising, like it might work. The other one looks like a mess. It hit the top of the shelf or the bottom of the shelf above it and is going to take some cleanup later. I'm going to have to take the rack out and all that. In the meantime though, we'll get them out, check them, and put them back in for additional time for the dry check. Doing the dry check is such a simple way to make sure that it's dry. It doesn't require guessing if it's dry. So we'll get them out and check them. The heaters have been off for about 10 minutes already, maybe a little bit longer, so they have cooled down a little bit, which is what I wanted for this honey because it's so sugary. The thermometers in the honey are still showing about 80 degrees, so there's no chance of condensation at this point. But as it drops, the tray itself will get cold faster than the food, so then you will have to worry about condensation. And with sugary things, I do like to take them out while they're still warm to make sure that that doesn't happen. So let's get them out, kind of look at them and see if we can get a laugh out of that honey. We're going to bypass the last few minutes and open the drain valve. With the pressure equalized, we can get this open. So tray 1 is with the peanut butter and milk to fill up the tray. If you've been watching my process for any length of time, you know that I don't really care about what this weight is. This is just to see if it's dropping. So when I put it back in for another couple hours, does it lose any weight at this point? I don't really care what the weight is. Okay, so let's look at this. I just want to look at this peanut butter. So this was the peanut butter, added water to it, and then added an emulsifier. So I just want to see how this is looking inside. Okay, so it doesn't feel greasy at all. It doesn't feel oily at all at this point. It looks really interesting. Okay. So I think this is going to work well for doing peanut butter. I'm going to put this one on the second rack position and bring this one down. 914, and that cream is looking quite nice also. So tray 3, and it's quite a mess inside.
Taxi!
So you can see the honey blew up all over the place. 950. Let's take a quick look at that. Well, I got honey on my milk. That's going to be a little bit of a problem later. Maybe. So that is sticky out here. So there's definitely sticky, and that's what I would expect with that. So I'm going to have a little bit of milk in the honey and a little bit of honey in the milk. Okay, that's kind of a mess. It is quite dry with the exception of the pieces that were sticking way up. Okay, even these pieces, they're like hard candies. So it did an okay job, but not a great job. Whoa, and now I've made a mess out of it. Okay, well, that made a mess of that. Good thing I cleaned the table. I'll put that back up on the spot, and I will trade spots with that one. I'm going to go ahead and put that one down here. I take this one and put it here. And then let's look at this other honey one, 931. And this tray, the one that was on the bottom, is getting icy cold already. This one, I would never bag this. It's way too cold already. This one's going to have condensation on it right away already. Okay, this one, and this is the one that I'd taken back out and added additional water to it. This one looks much more promising. Again, with the amount of sugars in it, it's still going to have a problem with getting sticky right away. It's going to want to pull moisture right out of the air. So I don't know how that's going to powder and what's going to happen to it, but it looks promising. We'll leave that alone, put it back in, and give it more time. So this one will go up here now, where it's going to be a little bit warmer. So we're going to give it that additional time for the dry check and then pull it out and check it again. The honey that was only mixed, I think, about 1-to-1 with water was too sugary. It ballooned up, it collapsed down. It's more like a candy now. I don't think that we're going to be able to make that work at all. The other one looks promising. And then I need to do some more experiments with that honey and see what is going to work and what's not going to work. So we'll put this back in for another couple hours and come back and check it for the final. And if it doesn't lose any weight, that means it's already dry, and it probably is. And then we'll be able to do something with it in the way of bagging it. I don't know what we're going to do with that honey. So we'll see what it does. Don't go away, it'll be just a second. So I've given it, I don't know, another 3 or 4 hours, because I gave it a bunch of time, and then dinner, and then a movie, and then some editing. And so now, oh, and then printing the labels for these. Anyway, now I'm back. So I think it's been like 3.5 or 4.5 hours. It's been a good long time. Everything was probably dry before, but we don't do probably, we check it. So let's get them out and see what happened to these things. I know the one tray of honey, the one that was only diluted 1-to-1, I know that that one is kind of a failure. I don't even know if I can get it out of the pan. I don't know if I'm going to bag it at all. The other one looks very promising, the one that's 3-to-1. I think it would still be better with a 4-to-1 or even a 5-to-1. And ultimately, unless you need powdered honey for something, why not just store it as honey? Honey lasts virtually forever anyway. But we're going to try it because a lot of people have asked over the years, and I've never done it. I just assumed I could if I wanted to, by diluting it and maybe adding some an emulsifier of some kind. I've never seen a dried honey product that was actually honey. It's always been some honey with other things like sugar or dextrose, fructose, starches. They've always been honey and some other things, or some other things and honey, so much so that the reviews usually say it doesn't taste like honey. This has almost all honey. It has very little of anything else. It has a tiny bit of xanthan gum, and I'm not sure if I even need that or how much would work. If that sample does pretty well, we'll probably do some experiments with some more just because we could. Anyway, let's get these out of there and check it. So bypass the rest of the time by using the down arrow and then open the drain valve. As soon as the pressure's equalized, we can open it. Tray 1. Tray 1 is the one with the peanut butter in, and it looks like it's perfect. And it's lost no weight, so no change on the weight, so that was done, and again, it probably was a few hours ago, quite a few hours ago. The milk and cream, so the cream is the one that we're after. No change, it's the one we're testing. We know milk does fine. And I think cream did very well by adding the water to it. Tray 3, the milk and the honey that is going to be a poor excuse for honey. It looks good, and I don't think we're going to end up bagging that anyway, because I think it's going to be a problem. Okay, and tray 4. Okay, and no change on that one. All right, so we'll stop the machine with no defrost, and we'll get this stuff moved over and take care of it. We'll get these taken care of. You can see what the honey did. The one that was 1-to-1 with water, it kind of ballooned up and then collapsed. So it's going to be just hard. The one that's 3-to-1 has some potential, and so I'll probably do something like this again with a little bit different concentrations. And then the rest of these are going to be fine. But we're going to take care of the honeys first because of the sugars and get those off the trays. And I don't know if we'll get anything useful out of this or how it'll do, but I got to get it off these trays, so I got to figure out something. Okay, 917. Try to get this off the tray and into a bag. And this is where having parchment on there is a good idea and not putting it directly on the tray. I put this directly on the tray, mostly for time. I didn't want to take the time. So I want to get them into plastic bag real quick because they're going to absorb moisture out of the air, and they're going to do that in a hurry. But that's why I use parchment paper all the time, so I don't have to deal with that mess. Of course, this other honey is pretty much a lost cause. So it's not sticking to the parchment. So if I'd have had parchment under the other one, that would have worked much better. I'm going to go ahead and bag this into the Mylar bags and just see what happens with it over a few days. Get that milk off of there, and then I can take care of this honey. Got 2 cups of milk. I can get that off of there, and then I'm going to crush that. And if there's a touch of honey in it, I'm not going to worry about that. Get that milk taken care of. And yeah, there's going to be a little bit of milk in that one, but I'm not going to worry about that. There's the crunchy, sugary honey. It's like hard snacks of honey, but it could still be used. It's not like it went bad. I'm going to split it into 2 bags. That way I can open one and test it earlier than the other. I'm going to go ahead and pour about half of this into each one of these, and we'll see what happens. I'm not real confident that they're going to hold up, but they look good right now. And I'm going to go ahead and close those off. Squish out the extra. Yeah, this is where having a nitrogen flush would be really, really good. We'll get the milk done. So that's 2 cups of milk, and I'll put it in one of these pint bags, and that'll be big enough to rehydrate it. Very nice. Nice powdered. Get rid of the extra air. Zipper it. Now, this is the block of cream. It was 1 cup, and then I added a cup of water to mix it 1-to-1. So let's see what happens with this. And of course, there's lots of fats in it. Okay. Yeah, so I think I need to put an emulsifier in this also to make sure that it doesn't separate. That's 1 cup of milk or cream basically. So I think I need to dilute that one more also. So I want to try that again, add some emulsifier, maybe double the water. So a 2-to-1 instead of a 1-to-1. Okay, we're going to go ahead and close that one. And I still need to add the oxygen absorbers. I'm just closing them to help protect them from any moisture in the air. Finally, the peanut butter. So I want to get the peanut butter into here, and these are fairly solid. Going to crush it a little bit, but I'm going to try to do it fairly quickly. I don't want to warm it up. If I get it warm, it's going to start to stick together. I don't use a blender or food processor for powdering the food before storing, because I don't want the tiny particles whirling through the moist air and absorbing any moisture. That's the peanut butter. That came out pretty nice. I don't think it's going to fit in here though. Okay, that's not going to fit in there. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with this peanut butter or how to handle it even. You can see it just looks like peanut butter flakes. Oh, I don't think I mentioned this was creamy peanut butter. I'm a bigger fan of crunchy peanut butter, but this is what we had at the time. So I don't know how that's going to work either. I think it might collapse into a peanut buttery lump at some point. I don't know. This, as it's cooled, it's become crunchier. I've gotten completely sidetracked on this whole batch because it's such odd stuff. I don't know how they're going to hold up. The milk is the only ones that I'm used to and know that they're going to do fine. My sister did heavy cream before, and I rehydrated some of it just as a test shortly after she did it. But we didn't do it this way by adding the water to it, so I don't know how this is going to do. I don't know how the honey's going to do. I don't know if it's even going to stay as a powder. I think I should leave the bag bigger so that it doesn't crush in, and probably same with the peanut butter. So I'll go ahead and add oxygen absorbers to these. If you want to see some other types of experiments with any of these, let me know. I think I'm going to try honey again by adding an even higher amount of water and the emulsifier to help keep it in suspension a little better. And same with the cream. And then I can see what happens with those. Otherwise, milk is just a normal thing. Heavy cream, I don't know. It's interesting, and it seemed to work better this way with the extra water. So I think water and an emulsifier might be a good choice. So we'll give these some more tries and see what happens. It's 5 or 6 days later. We're going to open a couple of the bags, or I am going to open a couple of the bags and look at them and assess them to see what they're doing so far. I know that's a very short time. It won't tell us a lot, but I'm concerned with the honey, especially the one that was only mixed 2 to 1 with water, about it just turning into a lump, that it wasn't powdered enough to actually function. And as people have reminded me a few times, and I'm well aware of, honey doesn't need to be freeze-dried. I'd go a step further. I think that freeze-drying it may actually damage its lasting ability, its ability to be stored long-term, because honey is naturally a antibacterial, or has antibacterial properties. Its pH is such that it lasts a long time. So it's probably not a positive thing to freeze dry it, but people have asked, and there might be uses for a powdered honey, not just the fact that it's powdered, or just the fact that it's powdered. You might be able to use it in ways that you couldn't use a liquid honey. So I'm going to experiment with it more. The tests in this video were pretty poor science. I just winged it and tried one sample of each, basically 2 of the honey. If it works at all, then I'm going to take each of these products and do a more rigorous sampling process, doing step by step with minor variations till we find out what really works best. So let's take a quick look at these and then get them resealed, and we'll see what they look like now. I never even labeled this one all the way because I was just sure that this was not going to work out. It still jiggles in there. Same with these. And of course the peanut butter never did make sound like that. Same with the cream. So let's give these a look. And I won't open both of these, I'll only open one, so I'll leave one undisturbed for later and see how one of them looks. So cut this open and take a peek. This is one of the reasons I like to seal them so high on the bag. I've got room for one, maybe two more before the seal, but definitely at least two more before the zipper. Oh, I said seal, before the tear strip notches. Okay, so okay. So it looks like it did kind of clump together a bit, but it's breaking apart very easily.
Yeehaw!
Okay. Yeah, so if you were using that for something that needed a powdered chunk, I think it's still very easy to powder it. Okay. So that's interesting. And definitely a full honey taste. I mean, it instantly melts in your mouth and it's like honey. Okay. So I think it still needs something, and it's why powdered honey usually has other things in it to keep it free flowing. Otherwise, it's bound to clump up like that. So we may try some samples later adding something. I'm not sure what, maybe just a cornstarch or something. I'm not sure what I would add. Okay, but I'm gonna get that resealed. So let's check the one that was only 2-to-1 with water and see how that fared. And this is the one I expected to be even more clumpy. Yeah, so those pieces kind of clumped together. But they still break apart quite easily. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and leave those in there. And we'll check them again another time. I think over time these are just going to become kind of a lump. So I think it needs something else to prevent that. The commercial ones have some kind of anti-clumping agents, and that's part of what they use the starch or the sugar or the dextrose for. Okay. Let's see what this looks like. Okay. I'm not going to pour that out of there, but that is definitely still just flaky. So that's very successful. Wow, that's good peanut butter too. That's good. Well, so I definitely want to experiment with peanut butter some more. I want to try different methods, different amounts of water, different amounts of mixing. I reread the article. I didn't mix it anywhere close to the amount that it should have been. That looks very interesting. We will definitely be doing some more work with peanut butter. Yeah, so that one we really don't need to pour out to see it. It's holding up perfectly. And then the heavy cream. And this feels like I didn't leave enough air in it. I should have used a bigger bag for this so that it doesn't squish it into a block. Let's see what that looks like. Well, it looks like it's holding up fine as a powder or as flakes. Not really powder, more of a flake. Okay, so It didn't fare too poorly, but I definitely would use a bigger bag so I can balloon it up more and have less of a chance of it crushing. Because I don't want, when the oxygen is absorbed, the bag squishes down by 21%. You may not notice it every time, but with a full bag, you're more likely to notice it. So I should have used a bigger bag, I think. So wiping off the seal area, make sure that it's clean. So we'll do more experiments with cream also. So I will plan on doing more cream, more peanut butter, and more honey. And we'll figure out what seems to be the best method for each of them. We already know from this example that honey, oh, and I should change that, that's 2 to 1. Honey with 2 to 1 doesn't work well. Okay, so that's what we've got now. We've got 3 samples that worked okay, but could use some improvement. And the heavy cream, one of the things I would do in the future is bag it in a bigger bag and maybe a nitrogen flush to puff it up so that it doesn't squish and have those oils squished together. But it does look good. The peanut butter looks great still. The honey is marginal, but I think we can get it. And I could see some uses for it. If you want a powdered honey to put on something, this could work. So we're getting close on that. So thanks for watching, and we'll do more experiments with this at another time. So thanks for watching and following along.